Hello, soul friends. This is Miriam here, and welcome back to my channel. Today's pick a card reading is what is eating up your energy? What is eating away at you? What is stealing your focus? What is consuming you inside out? It sounds very dramatic, doesn't it? It does. We have 3 different images to choose from, as well as 3 different stones. For group 1, we have the 9 of Cups and this citrine stone. Group 2, we have the Justice card and this little mustard colored chunk of whatever. It's in the shape of a heart. And the Emperor card with the weird yellow stone, of which we do not know the origin of. Okay. No clue where it came from or what it is. I'm sure it came with something at some point. Okay. Remember, no matter your individual beliefs, tarot or oracle reading is, your spirit guides coming forward to give you advice because they love you, or it is just your subconscious mind helping you answer life's ponders. No matter how you look at that, it's healthy. You are in the right place. So today, as far as the decks we are using, we're just going to be using the one. Make it really simple. So that is the Skeleton Tarot. I believe, yeah, by Catrocketship. They are on Etsy. There we go. There is their link. I will also put their information in the description box because they are a smaller seller and are not mass produced. So yeah, so one deck to rule them all. Alrighty, we will see you in your individual readings. Take care. Bye. Hello, group 1. So if you picked the little sparkly stone and the 9 of mugs or cups, I feel what's kind of stealing your focus or eating up your energy right now is there something that you want, something on your wish list that you want it so bad that you can't think of anything else. The scenarios that are coming into my mind right now are, gross. Let's get this one out of the way right away. Love and romance. Some of you are waiting for someone to call you, or you're wondering if they're thinking about you as much as you're thinking about them. All of that stuff that's going to make me want to vomit. Here we are. Others, it's like a big life goal, something that you're working towards that you, in some cases, are not even close to achieving yet. I'm not saying you won't ever achieve it. It's just like, I don't know. If you hear that outside, it's just the entire world blowing away outside. My entire house is shaking. All the trees are going to blow down and hit my house and just knock us all into oblivion. Right? So anyway, I feel like head in the clouds, getting the cart in front of the ponies kind of situation in some of your situations. It's not like, and I keep stumbling over my words because I don't want you to feel like I'm like, this is a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. Okay. First off, don't listen to people when they tell you not to follow those dreams. But at the same time, also be realistic. So, for example, you want to be like a big movie star. And so I see like a lot of frenzied thinking on like, maybe like creating stressors and problems when like the actual like wish has not been fulfilled yet, and so you don't need to problem jump just yet, is what I'm hearing there. And I keep focusing down here on this little spot in their rib cage that looks like a doorway opening. It's almost like you have all this stuff inside of you that needs to come out and it's like not ready yet. And that's why like it feels like the cart's getting before the ponies. Is like this idea of you want to decorate your house, and so you buy all this stuff to decorate it with, but you don't have a house yet. That's the kind of stuff that is popping into my mind. but you want it so bad. And like, it's not like it's unattainable. It's just that you want it so bad that you keep like jumping ahead and just thinking about it constantly and just wishing for it and wishing for it and wanting it so badly that it's just eating up all of your time. Let's get some more cards and see what your guides think you should do about all that. Okay, so we have the Justice card. They are showing that you do, yes, need to balance things out a little bit, of focusing on not just the end result of what you want and all the things that you need to do to go into that sort of thing, but the basic rudimentary, what are you trying to say? Getting back to the basics, right? You can't become a scientist before you learn math or whatever. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Let's keep going. Yes, but it is attainable. Like, I see that you will have success if you follow this to the end. But right now it's like you want it to be in a different spot than where it actually is. Yes. It's like this, okay, so like for the relationship people, I'm already avoiding that. It's like the first thing that came out and I'm like, what's the other storyline that I don't want to talk about? Oh, I should have known. With the romance situation, I feel like you're just getting started and things feel like they started out really, really well with this person. And you're already trying to jump to like the wedding, right? But you haven't even really gone on date 2 yet. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying it's not, the wedding isn't going to happen. I'm just saying it's definitely not going to happen today, right? And I know you know that. But it's like you're even watching this video so that you can focus on this more because no one else is focusing on this as much as you are, including maybe the other person that you're worried about, right? And that's why you're thinking about them so hard. So right off the bat, I need you to ground yourself. And if that doesn't work, if that's not working for you, you need to book a private reading with me because I have techniques I can help you with on how to help that not being able to hold still frenzy energy. As far as other scenarios, this also feels like maybe I am filming this in the fall. It's almost like somebody's excited about where they're going to go with their college courses, but you're like in the first semester still, but you're already kind of like looking at locations for the like, I don't know, like if you're going to school for like healthcare stuff, you're already looking at areas where hospitals are that you like and whatnot. Just lots of that like hop to it kind of energy. And your guides are kind of trying to tell you to slow down and tell you that being eaten up with passion over it is not going to keep it burning brighter. It's actually going to burn you out faster. And so, for example, if this is a relationship and it went really well and you're worried about them calling, well, a good way to kind of put a hiccup in it turning out really well would be like to call that person or text them 80 billion times and start sounding like you're really, really worried about where they are and if they're thinking about you as much as you're thinking about them, and you start to sound a little bit stalkerish or desperate, or maybe you're a little too into them as opposed to them being as into you. And it's so early on that they might have developed really special feelings for you, but because we get worried about where it's going, we sometimes throw our weight into it a little too hard. Same thing with like projects. I feel some work project vibes in here as well. It's this idea of like, gross. This is popping into my head though, so I'll use it as an example. When I was a teacher, the state decided to start making us do these weird like senior projects where the seniors had to also pass a project of some kind. And of course, there was nobody in charge that was like, and this is what it has to look like. It was like, oh, hey, teachers, the state decided they want you to do this. So all of you get to spend all these extra hours figuring out what that's going to look like and how it's worth everybody's time. And who cares if you thought it was a good idea or not? But here you are, you're in charge of it. And so, there's two different ways to react to that in polar opposite extremes. One is to be like, That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I didn't even sign on for this. I'm not doing it. And then there's the, okay, I'm going to act like not only did I know this was coming, but that I'm more excited about it than the people who told me I have to do it just now. And I'm going to put out the air like I know exactly what I'm going to do. And I don't even know what it is yet, but I'm going to sell this idea. And then you throw yourself into it. And then halfway down the project line, you're like, do I even believe in this? And maybe you do, maybe you don't. You know, a lot of times it shifts and evolves into other things, projects, right? And we never know exactly where they're going to end up. So it's like, I feel like that getting the cart in front of your pony's energy is going to actually slow things down as opposed to speed them up to where you want them to be. I do see you finding a good balance, okay? And your guides are showing that you need a good balance of that whimsical, celebratory already thinking, right? With the fundamental, but we gotta start the drawing board kind of stuff, right? So your guides are showing that you will find that balance, okay? And they are showing the situation turning out well. The frenzy of it, of waiting for it, is what's eating you up inside. Ace of Wands. Some truth is going to come out that's important. 5 of Cups. Okay. Some truth is going to come out. Okay. Yes. All right. This is why, and this goes for all the situations, relationships, whatever, romantic or whatever. I don't care. Whatever the dumb situations are. You know what your situation is. Cling to that knowledge because I cannot. As far as, because if I say them all, I'm going to mess it up. As far as what your guides are showing is to get that frenzied over something and get that excited about it, like, you know, future jumping to the marriage proposals and stuff like that. And some people might think that that's an extreme place to start, but I'm going to say that I don't think it is, because you would not believe how many people call and ask where a relationship is going after the first date. You know what I mean? They wonder about these things. And like, if we're honest with ourselves, we've done it, right? In, if not romance, in other areas of our lives. So it's like, your guides are showing that there's some kind of a truth that's going to come out about your project, your relationship, the people, whatever, that might knock down your excitement a peg or two. And that's normal. But it could be something that knocks it down so hard that you're like, this kind of ruins all of that high momentum that I had built up. Like, I was really looking forward to this. And now I feel like I'm going to be stuck here forever. And your guys are showing like, no, it's going to be like neither this all the time, nor this all the time. It's going to be somewhere balanced in the middle. And so it's a good idea to kind of get your emotions and your energy up that middle road as well. So like, for example, when people are in recovery, like for like alcoholism, let's say, I don't know who that might be. Anyway, I'm pointing at me, not you. There's this kind of middle road that you have to do of not feeling so good that you're sober that nothing can go wrong, and also not feeling so low about being sober that nothing can ever feel good again. And there's no like set prescription or balance of how that happens. And so people have to kind of like teeter through it themselves and figure out what works for them. Not every, I don't know, roadblock that stops me from drinking is going to work for somebody else, right? Etc. and so forth. So what your guys are showing with this is that the polarized thinking on your part is what's going to cause you to drain the fastest. And so trying to find a middle way is a good way to do it. So another suggestion I'm going to make is like reframing thoughts and checking yourself. I call them checking myself thoughts of, and I do it really, really well for like negative thoughts because I'm used to those more. Positive thoughts, I don't do it as well because I'm so happy I'm finally having a positive thought that I forget to do this. But it's like you got to pull yourself back from it. Like, pull yourself back from that energy of like, it's all going to be sunshine and rainbows forever, hooray! But also pull yourself back from that like, oh, it's ruined forever. Nothing's ever going to be good. This idea of like finding a middle road, a middle way to go. So like if something feels like it's going really well, do like honesty checks. That's what I like to say. Okay, honesty checks are like this idea of like keeping yourself from, the kids are calling it delulu now. Where like I keep seeing these like pick a card readings where like, am I delulu? And it's because like they're like, am I looking into this? Am I reading too much into that other person's like behavior? And really they're not that into me, but I thought they were. You know, it's also like we can get delulu about like how much somebody doesn't like us and actually start thinking that they're thinking about us a lot more than they actually even are. Those kinds of like thoughts. It keeps you from getting into like a diluted, extreme way of thinking. And I feel like that's just your personality types that you just kind of get pulled from one to the next. And so your guides are showing the balance being important. Lots of, wow, 3 pages. Page of Swords, Page of Pentacles, and Page of Wands. I feel like this is like, okay. So what they're showing me with these 3 cards is that the 3 main areas where this energy gets drained from this group is plans and polar opposite thinking that you have towards finances and like career possibly, or life purpose. What inspires us are our passions. Okay. And then our thoughts and our words. Jeez Louise. It's like, so for example, with thoughts and words, because of this type of automatic, you guys know that movie where the kid wants the BB gun and they keep telling him he's going to shoot his eye out? Everybody's seen that movie if you were born in the United States, right? If you weren't and you want to see what one of our cultural staples of Christmas time is, check out that movie. But like he has these little like daydreams. Like for example, he turns in a paper and he's really proud of it. And then like he hands it in and he's imagining sitting there at his desk, his teacher being like, oh, it's the most amazing paper ever, A+. And all the kids are cheering and she's just like dancing around the room and everyone's so happy. And then she like hands back his paper a few days later and it says like C- or something like that. And he's like, what? And then in his mind, she changes into this like wicked witch, you know, of like C+, and all the kids are laughing at him. So it's like, I feel like that energy drain of like, you know, cognitively in your mind that it's not that polar extreme, but like your emotions still go there, your thoughts still go there, and sometimes that can send your words into like a frenzy. I'm somebody who is like that. My brain and my words do not work together very well, especially if I'm stressed out or nervous. Especially if I'm stressed out or nervous about the person I'm talking to, and it's gonna come out weird. And like I've had people be like, that was not how I wanted it to sound, and so that means you aren't a good person. And it's like, okay. Well, how's that going to make me feel later when we have to have this conversation again? Probably like I was before, but like a million times worse, because now there's even more pressure. It's like I see that happening, like almost like a snowball effect of, like, for example, with finances, like maybe say you're in a weird business like I'm in, where you only make money when you are doing that job. It's like you're on commission, they call it, right? So you don't just get like an hourly wage, right? You have to produce or sell something or do something to get any monetary feedback whatsoever. So that's kind of scary. We just don't have a wage just guaranteed to us for showing up. And so Sometimes if you're someone like this person over here, it can make you curl up in your bed and be like, I don't want to go do anything. I'll just fail. And then, well, what happens? It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you stay in bed, you're not going to sell anything, etc. and so forth, right? Same thing with the inspiration. If you stop looking for inspirations, you're not going to find them. I'm not saying that you don't have the right to grieve. I do feel like some grief energy in some cases where like you might be lacking inspiration because something that used to inspire you kind of already got pushed here. Okay. And you're like, now it's all ruined. Now I can't find the joy I had before. For example, I loved reading for pleasure until I became a teacher. And then I started hating reading because everything I read was for a chore. I wasn't just reading for the joy of reading. I was reading to find out, to pick it apart, to figure out how it needs to be better, to explain to them why it's wrong. And it wasn't just the kids stuff, because at least then you're working with a kid and watching them learn and grow. No. You have to do all this extra credit work too. Let's all do a mission statement for our school. And since we don't have anybody that works here and we have no money, let's just make all the teachers do it. Just bring them all in here. Hey, you want to stay 3 extra hours after school? And it's no, nobody does. Nor the people that told you to stay want to stay, right? And so it kills that inspiration inside that you had that felt really special before, right? You might be in a really great relationship and then you have kids. And all of a sudden, it's not as fun, or you have a great relationship and then you meet each other's friends and you're like, how do you like me if you like them? Or the dreaded in-laws or whatever. Okay. What else do we need to hear from your guides? Weird reading people. I don't know what's going on. Strength. Yes. Thank you. Your guides are reminding me how to get back on track here. The Justice card, the Strength card, they are showing you as being a success. They're just showing it as being get yourself in that middle way. Because the middle way is how you're going to help yourself. So for example, if you tend to go more towards negative thinking, like I do, and then the next thing you know, you've self-sabotaged because you've convinced yourself that it's just going to be bad and it doesn't matter what anybody says or does, right? On the other side of that, you could be one of those hopeless optimists that's it's all gonna be okay, and everything's on fire, and you're maybe not, dude. Maybe instead of saying, oh, it's all gonna be okay, maybe you should have at least gotten some water and tried to put out the fire. Stuff like that. They're showing that middle way is the best way for you, because I feel like in your actions and the way you present yourself out in the world, most people would not know that you go to such polarized thinking in your mind. And they probably have no idea that you go through this emotional push and pull with yourself as you go through. I think most people just see you as kind of like this, just steady Eddie up the middle, doing okay. And it's because cognitively that that's the best way to be, but inside you're still going through this whole thing. And so your guides are saying as a suggestion is to kind of get ahead of your thoughts before they even become actions. Of anytime something starts taking up your thoughts, maybe just practice some mindfulness of this is taking up a lot of my energy thinking about this. I'm fixated on something. Could be good, could be bad, right? Why am I fixated on it? What am I doing? Why is it so important to me? If it seems really ideal, I went out on a date and it was really great, check yourself a little bit. It's the first date, calm down. Everybody tries to impress people on the first try, or, it's a first date. They might have been nervous. Not everyone's exactly how they really are in real life on the first meeting. Let's give it some more time. That kind of yeah. That will keep you up the middle and keep you from feeling drained. Okay, that is all I have for you, my wonderful group ones. If this was helpful, tell me how in the comments section. Give me topic ideas there as well. If you would like to book a private reading with me, there are ways to do so in the description box. We will see you in the next one, my friends. Take care. Bye. Hello, group 2. So if you pick this little mustardy heart, I don't know what it is about mustard colored things, and I'm just I don't even like mustard that much, but like the flavor, But I love the color. Which is weird. It's like I put mustard on something, I'm like, man, that hot dog looks so boring until we put mustard on it. But for some reason, I just love like mustard colored stones, mustard colored clothing, mustard colored everything besides food, I guess. But anyway, I digress. Let's talk about you and what's eating you up inside, stealing your energy, or generally just taking up too much of your mind. And with you guys, you picked the Justice card. I feel like whether you realize this or not, some of you might have gone right to it because you know exactly what's eating you up inside. And it's like something unfair happened. And you're like, I know exactly why I'm upset. So like, for example, if like you were friends with somebody and they were like, as Shakespeare would have called it, murthered. I don't know if you've ever read any Old English, but they used to say that M word like murthered. And like, if you teach English for a lot of years and you have Old English books like that, there'll be some like awesome kids that will just call it that forever. They're like, they were murthered. You're like, oh, that's awesome. Or they'll put an accent or the E like murthered. So, made to not be alive at the hands of another. Okay. If that were to happen and then the killers were, say, to walk free, well, then you would know exactly what you thought you were upset about or what you thought was not fair or not just in this situation. But for a lot of you, I feel like it's not as clear cut as that. Obviously, anybody would understand that outrage and frustration. I feel like there's a righteous indignation inside of you that eats you up inside over like the littlest things. So for example, I'm going to throw somebody else under the bus besides me. So my partner, Mr. John, who lives down in my basement, he's not here right now, so we can talk bad about him. He has this thing with one of our cats where we have 4 cats. And so when we feed them, they all hate each other, and we take their little can of food and we cut it into 4 sections and put it on 4 little plates all at the same time so that they can all eat at the same time if they need to without having to touch or be around the other ones, and nobody has to fight over anything. It's really stupid. Okay. Awkward homeschooled kitty cats. They're totally indoor and they just, they're the sole focus of our lives. So the youngest one out of all of them, Sullivan, likes to go around and he licks every single one of the cubes of food before anybody else gets a chance to get to it. And it drives my partner, Mr. John, insane because of the injustice of what Sullivan is doing. Okay. So I'm talking about little things like that you might not be consciously aware of that are like building up inside your psyche and like eating you up inside. Okay. And I'm not just going to pick on Mr. John, like I can laugh that one off and be like, it's not that big of a deal. Who cares? Right. But see me brush it off. If I see, a group of girls, like younger girls, like giggling behind their hands at some other poor person, and like, just like kind of making fun at somebody, just being stupid kids, you know what I mean? And like, that's totally something that every kid probably did at some point in their life. And I think we all tried on different mean kid garb and different nice kid garb. Okay. But like, because everybody tries on different identities when they're kids. And I'm sure that Mr. John, seeing a bunch of girls do that, wouldn't probably pain him as much as it would me. But if I were to see it, I'd be like, oh, they're up to no good, those young whippersnappers. How dare they? Or like, say, when I was a teacher, I'm okay. I the whole building could catch on fire and like there could be like multiple deaths, and I would have been like standing there with a straight face, just doing the best I can to try to get through it and help others, right? But that one day where I got disrespected And, the custodial staff had the audacity to erase my entire board that I worked so hard on. And then they just totally, erased it without even thinking about how long it took me to put it up there, that I was going to have to do it all again. I will burn this place to the ground. And my eyes start to glow and I levitate, right? So that all being said, there's a lot of examples. It probably bored you all to tears. I feel like that's kind of what's eating you up inside, is righteous indignation. I feel like for some of you, actually, I'm feeling this across the board. For all of you, there are a couple of big things in your life, right? Like when you're doing like trauma work, they call it big T's and little T's. Like a big T would be like, witnessing a murder, whereas, a little T would be like a spider crawled on you and you saw it. And we're like, and you're scared of spiders. Okay, so those types of things. And I realize that some people are more traumatized by spiders than others. Put your little T's and big T's where they need to go so that you feel like I'm representing you accurately. And then we can move on. I feel that fairness struggle. I feel like there's some Libras in here. And if you're not a Libra, you've got this like fairness in mind. Like I'm picturing like kids being like, cut it down the middle, Mom. It has to be exactly the same for it to be fair. The reason why this eats people up inside is because, well, the big obvious ha in everybody's face is that life isn't fair, right? And I hate people that laugh and say that to you and they expect it to like make you feel better. Like, oh, of course, life isn't fair. Why didn't I think of that, Rebecca? Oh, you're so wise. Yeah. So I feel like telling you to, I don't know, to get over it, or telling you that not everyone else's values are going to be the same as yours, is going to fall on deaf ears because you're so eaten up with this feeling of it's not flipping fair. And I get it. I don't know what to say to you in that situation because I don't know what anybody could say to me in that situation to make me feel better, because there's not usually much they can say or do to make me feel better. All right, let's see what else we got here. 2 of Cups. Queen of Wands. Okay. I didn't know what to say to you, but your guides do. Page of Cups. And 7 of Cups. Okay. So the first thing that your guides are telling you to do, first and foremost, is figure out which are your big T's and your little T's. Okay. So what are the big things that feel unfair to you right now or feel unjust to you right now are so big that you can barely even stand to live with them at all? Okay. Like, can't keep getting away with it. Right? Something like that. We're like, something has to be done. We must shout it from the streets. That would be what I would consider a big one. And then a little one would be like, don't you think it's like so messed up that like every time we have a staff meeting, Charlotte just never flipping shows up. Poor Charlotte. Poor people named Charlotte and Carol. Who else? Who else do I pick on? Patricia. I need to start throwing some male names in there. Like Joe. Joe sounds like a good one that I could use. It's just very nondescript. Like, stupid Joe. Have you guys ever noticed that like he always takes the best parking spot even when he's late? I'm like, yeah, that's weird. We should all start parking there before he does. But yeah, it's Joe's fault. The dumbest example ever. But you get the the idea. So figure out what your big T's are and your little T's are, because I feel like they're starting to all bleed into one. And then it starts making one that's not that big feel like a big T when really it's not. And then you might flip out and get righteously indignant in front of people. And my gosh, you guys, nothing looks worse than righteous indignation in front of other people when like it's a little T and not a big one. Because then you look like you're the biggest K word on the face of the planet. And I feel so bad for people named Karen as well. All those poor parents that named their child Karen were like, we're so sorry, baby. We just had no idea. And what's funny is that's not one that I go to, Karen. I just don't automatically, like, I flinch when people say, oh, she was a Karen. I'm like, oh, that was so mean of you to say. But, you know, Charlotte and Carol and Patricia, you know where those B words can go. And that useless Joe. All those people with those names are like, I'm out of here. Like, it's so strange that Miriam the Mage doesn't have any followers named Charlotte, Patricia, Carol, or Joe. Huh. So strange. So what your guides are showing me is once you figure out what those big T's and little T's are, another thing you need to kind of sort of do, and like, as long as I'm telling you to sit down and like have like a little notebook, like, I'm not going to make a video where it's like how to compartmentalize your feelings and rage. And it shows me like wake up in my $2 million like mansion. And I'm like, stretch really good every morning on your plushy quilt. And then take your big feathery floofy stupid looking pen and write in your special dream journal. Like nobody, even the millionaires who wake up in their like beautiful $2 million like mansions, actually does that. Nobody actually does that, Carol. Carol, no, they don't. You can film yourself doing it as much as you want. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You might have tried it for a while because you saw somebody else try it with their floofy pen. And man, it was comforting watching them write with that floofy pen, wasn't it? So comforting. But it's a lie. Okay. Now I'm getting righteously indignant. Yes. Indignant, it means like you're like really upset about perceived unfairness towards someone or something. And it can be called indignity, indignation. And no matter how much you teach it to kids every single year, they never remember it and they don't remember all of its forms. But they're the most indignant people on the planet. Yeah, I feel indignation for just saying that out loud, but it's true. I know. I digress. It's fall. That always makes me think about my old teaching days. Like, it wasn't that long ago, Miriam. It was just a couple of years. But yeah, it does sometimes feels like a lifetime ago. Other times I feel like I'm a different human being. Okay. I feel like once you figure out what your big T's and little T's actually are, because I feel like in some cases it's gotten like smoked together so hard that like you can't even distinguish between them anymore. You need to like start looking around at the people around you. Okay. So for example, if I'm upset about something I saw on the news, right? And I want to talk to somebody about it and commiserate about how everything's going to heck in a handbasket, as Grandpappy used to say. It's probably a better idea to find somebody who is on the same political spectrum as me. Probably don't go and find the person that like is the least likely. So for example, if you're like say an atheist and you're upset about the state of the world, probably don't go find your like born again Christian friend who just got saved yesterday and be like, how do I feel better? They're going to have an answer for you. And as an atheist, you might not appreciate their answer. Does that make sense? So like with this Two of Mugs, like this idea of not surrounding yourself with only people who agree with you, but like, like when I was a teacher, there would be certain like other teachers, even if you got along with them very well as your friend, that you wouldn't go to them for certain situations. Okay. So like, for example, if there's a new rule in place that the school is going to implement soon, probably don't go and talk to this one person because they're going to have a come apart, right? Or they're going to be like way too happy about it and it's going to make me mad. You know, those kinds of things, like knowing who your people are, knowing who your allies are in those certain situations is a good way to kind of keep things from getting all mixed together. It's also a good way to find allies to help keep you on track of, I don't know, like, for example, if I'm really upset about something Sullivan's been doing, that's that cat we talked about earlier, and even John is like, it's just Sullivan, give him a break. Then that might check me. That might make me go, maybe I should calm down a little bit. Maybe I'm just, getting too indignant about something that's actually a little T and not a big T. Okay. So like this idea of separating them out, right? We're not going to treat the weird little conjoined twins in a cup the same as a dragon in a cup. Of course we won't. That's the silliest thing I've ever heard. So we need to find them and put them where they need to be. I also like how the Page of Cups is like trying to make sense with the little stars around their head. If you start doing it all at once, you're going to start getting eaten up with passion. That Queen of Wands is very passionate and fiery, and she stands up for justice as well. It's like, I also see like possibly, yes, this is coming into my mind now. Like, I can handle somebody like downgrading my appearance and being like, you shouldn't wear your hair like that. It looks stupid. As opposed to like somebody doing it to a very pretty girl next to me. If they do it to me, I'm like, I really didn't wake up giving a crud what you thought about what I should do with my hair today, Joe. But thanks. But if say Joe did that to my friend, right? And my friend is super pretty, way prettier than what Joe could ever get. Do you think I'm going to stand by and let Joe degrade her appearance in front of me? Nope. I'm going to go full Queen of Wands, full justice, swing that sword down and, metaphorically chop off his head. Ha 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 ha. Metaphorically speaking, of course. But I would way faster. I'll get indignant for others faster. Okay. And that just depends on your personality type. Some people don't get involved and some people do. It just depends on what your T's are. Your big T's and your little T's. Right? So keeping yourself in check, keeping things, compartmentalized, like in that movie, with Ben Stiller, where like she thinks he has hair gel on his ear, but it's not hair gel. And then she ends up putting it in her hair. That movie. At one point, he gets arrested, and he thinks he's arrested for picking up a hitchhiker, and they think he's being arrested for actually murdering a hitchhiker. And so the whole time they're having this miscommunication back and forward, and they're like thinking that he's this like callous person that killed somebody because he's like, why is this such a big deal? It was just a hitchhiker. So it's like, I feel like the cop that ends up freaking out and like bashing his head into the table had probably just gotten done with like some other case where like, justice was not served and he had just seen like way too many atrocities that day. And then he just took it all out on Ben Stiller in that one moment. All right. That's kind of what your guides are trying to get you to avoid, is that kind of energy of, yes, like all or nothing, like storming out of a meeting because of the injustice that you just had to witness. And then, you go and you have a snack and you're like, oof, I was just hungry. Now I have to go apologize for being unprofessional, or now I have to go to court because they pressed charges. So your guides are saying definitely hold to your truth and speak up when things do need to be said, but try to keep them separate. If you're thinking about the plight of all women, in the whole wide world, all the atrocities that you've seen done against women and little girls your whole life, right? And it's always bothered you really bad. If it doesn't bother you, then this isn't going to make sense. But, you know, animal cruelty, whatever, right? And then you see like your mom be like, Scoodles, get off the counter. And you're like, don't you say that to Scoodles. You B-word mom. You're the worst thing that's ever happened to animals. You see how that happens? It wouldn't have happened if you hadn't have been watching that commercial with the sad little puppies and the lady singing the angel song, right? And then all of a sudden somebody's like, so-and-so, stupid dog, get off the table. And you're like, don't call them stupid. That can hurt their self-esteem. And meanwhile, the dog's like just enjoying his cheese taxes and just having the best doggy life ever, right? There's no need to get that upset. Yes, that is how you will find your emotional fulfillment of the King of Cups. Not feeling overwhelmed by anything, not feeling confused, not feeling like you gotta bail, not feeling like you gotta stick up for everyone or cut anyone's head off metaphorically. But just feeling A-okay about life. Life is life. We know it's not perfect. But that is how you will keep yourself in balance, my friends. Okay, I hope this was helpful. I can't imagine why it would be. But if it was, tell me how in the comment section. You can give me topic ideas there as well. Also, if you'd like to book a private reading with me, there are ways to get a hold of me in the description box. Thank you so much, my friends. We will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye. Hi, group 3. So if you pick the little yellow rock or the Emperor card, what is eating you up inside or stealing your energy right now is the man. And by the man, I mean like some kind of an authority figure. It doesn't actually have to be a person who is gendered male, but somebody who is in charge of you in some way, some kind of an authority figure. This also doesn't have to be a boss, but it could be. Okay, so for some of you, this is your boss. Some of you, this is somebody that has some kind of authority over you. So for some of you, I feel like it might be the government in general is making you feel like they've got a hold of you too hard. Like maybe, like I'm thinking about like a sibling of mine that like finally got out of like the rat race of like being a counselor and like did her own practice, which I don't pretend to understand how all that works. But it's like it went from like that being like this cool new thing of like, oh, you get more independence and etc. and so forth, and there's less, I don't know, kind of different tapes to cut through. I don't understand how any of it works. But at the same time, like then all of a sudden you're in a different tax bracket, right? It's sort of like when you like start your own business and you're like, yay, I've got my own business. I don't have to like worry about other people being in my business. But then you realize like, oh, because it's just you, you're the one that has to deal with like all these other problems that you didn't necessarily have to deal with before. So I feel like that kind of authority is come into play. I also feel like another scenario that just popped into my mind was a friend of mine just got their own practice doing something, and then the company that they worked for bought that practice or something like that, you know? So it's like the people that they were working for before are now they're working for them again. That kind of deal. And like, or like when you go to summer camp and all of a sudden they have a limit on how much candy you can buy during candy buying time. That happened to me in summer camp. Or, you know, when you were finally a senior in high school, they took away freshman initiation. So you never got to initiate the freshmen. You just had to get initiated when you were a freshman. And then it finally came your turn and they took it away from you. So I feel like that kind of thing is eating you up inside as well. If it's an actual person that's in charge, I feel like there's just like a general disagreement in your mind about how they're managing things, about how they are handling being in charge that bothers you the way that they're doing it. And I feel like you have good reason to feel that way. Like that if like if God were going to come down and give us a ruling right now about whether or not you're right about your criticisms, we would find out that you are right. Okay, so if that helps you to put that under your pillow and sleep with it at night, there you go. I'm feeling like it's also like something that feels like unfairness, like, like the daddy figure isn't doling out things fairly, right? Like maybe the daddy figure has favorites that the daddy figure caters to in your workplace or in whatever situation that you're in. And you're sick of that it's like eating you up inside because, other examples, like say you work somewhere where people just kind of call in whenever they want, show up late, whatever they want, but then the one time you have to do it, like, that's not really the best way to go about it. Like you're somehow less than everyone else that does the exact same thing, right? And you notice those discrepancies and they bother you, okay? That's the feeling that I'm getting from this. So the thing that sucks about that for this group is that, man, when somebody's like has authority over you and you're upset with how they are, like, and I feel like for like maybe like a select few or something, that this could even like go beyond like just petty daily things that you don't like having to pay taxes. Actually, I'm one of the people that taxes actually really stress me out. So, I mean, there's that. So, those types of things, like somebody that doesn't stress about them changing your parking lot at work, that kind of deal. Or somebody like taking people's parking spots at work when squatters' rights mean that you should have gotten that parking spot. I feel like this could go even beyond like little petty squabbles like that, and that this is something bigger for some people. Like the person in charge really, really messed up, and you can't let it go. Like I'm like thinking of like, people, everyone makes mistakes, right? But depending on like what kind of work you do, like your mistakes might carry more consequences than others. So like, whereas somebody might order the wrong color of pens, somebody else might accidentally not put, the right medicine in the right vial before they inject somebody with it and, kill or maim them for life. Those types of differences, right? I feel like for some of you, this was big and that the person in charge really let you down. Okay. I feel like for some that this is a father figure or somebody you really looked up to. For others, I feel like this is a male or like masculine energied partner. Okay. Like maybe somebody that was took more of a patriarch role in the family, like somebody that everybody depended on a little bit more, but they like prided themselves in that role. That was like a role that they might even brag themselves up about, and they let you down in a major way. Okay. So like, like being a young gal and finding out that your dad like cheated on your mom, right? And realizing that like, that your dad was kind of like a stereotypical male in that moment, right? That kind of feeling like that he didn't live up to his own bragging or didn't live up to his own pedestal that he put himself on. Yes. And this doesn't have to be a male specifically, like it could be a female in a boss position, put it however it resonates. Put the pronouns where they need to go, however it makes you feel. Okay. Let's look at these real quick. 6 of Swords. Yeah, I feel like for those of you that this was like a boss, like I feel like maybe this boss has like irrevocably like affected other people's lives. So for example, if you have like a boss in play that is misappropriating funds, for example, and that's affecting people's paychecks. That's going to wear on people. Like that would wear on me. Because yeah, that would eat me up inside if somebody was, somebody loses their job or their livelihood because somebody in charge shouldn't be in charge. I've seen that sort of thing. It eats me up inside pretty hard. So that I understand for certain. Let's keep going. Like, I feel like with that Six of Swords, it's like the person that's steering the boat is not the only person in the boat, right? And that that person's being affected even though they don't even have an oar, right? Okay. 3 of Cups. I feel like in some cases, some of you have had to watch while the people that caused all this terrible stuff get to party and have a good time. That you've seen like nothing bad happening to anybody who's caused this bad stuff. So for example, if this was like a breakup, if somebody like let the whole family down, cheated, abandoned, that kind of thing. A lot of times I get like when people call in about it, right? Or like call and do readings about that kind of situation. A lot of times they're like, well, what is it going to end up like them? How is it going to end up for them? It's like if they cheated, like how is it going to end up for them and their person that they cheated on you with? And, they want to see the person, desolate, abandoned, the situation not working out for them, finding out that that person wasn't great for them like they thought they were, realizing regret that they let go of a good thing, etc. and so forth. That's generally what they want. They want that poetic justice of being able to see that person get their just desserts, because it helps reaffirm those life lessons that we're taught as little kids that a lot of times don't always hold up to reality. Is this idea of like, oh yeah, everybody that's good dies of old age, and people that die horrible deaths, well, they must have done something bad, like those kinds of things. Or if they lose something, it must be because they didn't deserve it in the first place. All those little things that we're taught when we're little, and we realize as we grow up and find out that life isn't fair, right? That's not always guaranteed, but we still feel that indignation of like, but no, you shouldn't get to just party and have a good time after you misappropriated everybody's funds. No, you shouldn't. Now I'm going to go yell at this person. I'm just kidding. See, I was mid-rant when that person called. Okay. Yeah, it's like you're the one that misappropriated funds, or you're the one that broke up our whole family, like you let everyone down. You talked a big game and you didn't show a big follow through. Lots of that, like this unfairness of that this trust was put in this person, and this person wanted that trust, demanded that trust in some cases, bragged themselves up in other cases, and then this is where we ended up. And now other people have been hurt, and according to what you've been seeing, they're still just having a good old time. And that's also eating you up inside. Intuitively, your guides are saying that that life isn't fair, that that even if this person does get some kind of poetic justice for what they've done, that you most likely will never get to see that or be part of it or get to bask in it in some way. Or if you do get to see it, you'll end up feeling sorry for them instead, or I don't know, there just won't be any joy in that for you. And intuitively, you kind of know where everything's at. You know the reality of the situation. Yeah, good things do happen to bad people sometimes, etc. and so forth. But none of that is helping you with the energy that you feel. So like your guides are showing with this card that the relief also has to come from within you, that you can't rely on it to come from an outside source. Just like we couldn't rely on that person. If this is a person that we were relying on, we can't rely on the daddy figure to make the right decisions for whatever reason, right? At least not in this situation, we can't. And so that strength has to come from within us. It has that thing that we needed from this person that wasn't given to us, or was even taken away or hurt or misappropriated in some way. They're going to keep doing it that way. There's not going to be a big change of heart on that person's part, okay, or that entity's part, or whatever you want to call it, right? So that saving or healing or whatever has to come from you. And I know that that's not what anybody ever wants to hear. Okay, we have 7 of Wands, but your guides are showing that you do have the ability to be a smashing success, that you can do everything that person didn't do and more, okay? That you are deserving of everything that person didn't provide to you, or that entity didn't provide to you, that type of ending is still possible, right? So if it's like a job, you know, that there are good jobs out there. If it was like a partner that messed you over, there are good partners out there, etc. and so forth. This whole situation doesn't mean that every other person in a position of power is going to act the same way. Is it common? Yes. Is corruption always going to be present in areas where there is power? Yes. And you know this deep down inside. Your guides are showing that you have the ability to overcome this. Okay, that this situation will resolve, and that you are the one that's going to step up and take what's yours, or fix what needs to be fixed. Okay, or get justice where justice needs to be dealt. Yes, second chances with judgment, and that you might actually get to see some people get judged. Okay, so I feel like for some of you, you might actually get to see some of those just desserts get put out there. It might not happen right away, and it might not be the way you want it to be. Okay, but it is something that the guides are showing in the judgment card, is that there are second chances, that there are judgments that will be passed on that person, that justice will be served in some way. Okay, and the Empress, interesting. Notice how the Emperor was the one that the card that was like eating you up inside was that Emperor energy. And then the Empress energy comes over and eclipses that. Like you, I'm not trying to make this about gender, okay? Because it can be any gender. But it's like, she don't need no man, right? Like she doesn't need that support. You didn't need that job. You didn't need that power over you or that daddy figure. You have the ability to do it yourself, and you have the ability to do it better than them. And that is how the situation is going to be resolved for you. Let's see what else your guides have to say about this situation. Yes. The only thing that's going to keep this from being resolved is you sitting and waiting for that person to either change and become what you needed them to be, that person, entity, whatever, right? Instead of stepping up into that challenge yourself and just taking care of it yourself. It's like if somebody spills something, and instead of jumping into action and helping mop up that spill, you just cover your eyes like this. Well, the spill's just going to get worse and worse and worse, and nothing's going to happen. Is it fair that you're the one that has to clean up the mess? Nope, probably not. Like, none of these situations have been fair, in my opinion. But they are the situations, regardless, that we are in. And your guides are showing that you have it within you to do it yourself. The only thing that's going to fail you is you covering your eyes and not looking at the situation and hoping that the situation is going to change or get fixed, when you're the only one that can fix it, or you're the only one that can clean up the spill, or you're the only one that's strong enough, or whatever you want to look at it. You know, like poor Frodo was the one that had to carry the ring to Mordor, you know? They're like, oh, she's a Lord of the Rings nerd. No, I'm the worst kind of Lord of the Rings nerd there is. I only watched the movies. I think I read the books once. Kind of. But it was so long ago. Yep. So I'm not even a good nerd. I only remembered a couple of key points from the films. So there you go. But I feel like you are the one that is carrying the burden. I feel like you're the one that got hurt the most, or at least you're the one it's eating up the most of your energy, right? Nobody else in this situation is watching this reading but you, right? And so like I feel like it's not fair, and it's okay to be angry about it, but the situation is going to be resolved by you moving forward and letting go of that, whatever you thought that thing was going to be, whether you thought it was like a relationship that you thought you were going to have, you thought that person was going to be something, that job was going to be something, that it ended up being so disappointing. Okay. And there's no one else left to pick this up but you. And I'm not saying like it's all hopeless, you're all alone. That's not what your guides are saying. But they're showing that you don't need anybody to fix this but yourself, that it's already pretty much fixed. The initial disappointment in that authoritative figure, that emperor figure, is what is really happening here. It's not like everything is lost. Okay. It just means that, you know, it's like when you think that it's like when you think your dad is cool and then you find out that he's not, you know, it's like that. Or like finding out that your superhero ended up not being a hero after all, or, you know, he was trafficking minors, or like, you know, that kind of stuff. It's like a huge disappointment. The situation isn't lost or unfixable, but the disappointment that you feel, that's the part that's draining you, that's eating up your energy. And your guides are saying that, you know, that is part of life, and it is unfair, and it is something you're going to have to grieve and move forward from. But at the same time, they're showing that you have all the strength that you need. You're not going to lay down and just die in the streets or die of a broken heart. But you are going to have to kind of like let go of that idea of what you wanted to be there, or what you thought was ideal and was going to be there is just not there anymore, right? Or it was never there to begin with. And that sucks. But at the same time, they're showing that you have the strength to overcome it, that you never needed that in the first place, and that it's going to be better without it. Okay. I hope this was helpful. Heavy reading today, y'all. If you're like, oh man, I should pick a different pile. Maybe don't. They were all pretty, you know. Well, I mean, the topic was pretty heavy. Like, what's eating you alive inside? Like, yeah, that's going to get kind of rough. So I feel for you, my group threes, but you are doing a great job. You have enough strength to get through this. Tell me how you got through this in the comment section. Give me topic ideas there as well. If you'd like to book a private reading with me, there are ways to do so in the description box. Take care, my wonderful friends. We'll see you next time. Bye.